gonna do in this video, brain?
The same thing we do in every video, Becky. Try and take over the world.
With science!
Alright, it's a glorious Saturday afternoon. Time to have some fun time to myself and start reading some research papers. Alright, let's find something that looks good. Ooh, computational neuroscience. Nice. Start with something light. Jargon in the introduction is a bit scary, but luckily I've watched Becky and the Brain's video on how to tackle academic reading, so that don't scare me. Methods are a bit technical, but the results, holy... What the horror? What does it mean? What does it mean? Hello everyone, my name's Rebecca and I'm a neuroscientist here to talk to you today about all things neuro and science. And in this video I'd like to try and tear down another one of the most common barriers that I see stopping people from enjoying the wonderful world of academia. And that is statistics. 'Cause gosh, they weird. But fun fact, in case you haven't picked it up from my previous videos, I am a massive nerd, and one of the ways I have expanded my nerddom in previous years is growing a genuine and passionate love of statistics, because I'm a normal human being with normal human being hobbies, and how dare you suggest otherwise? So, in this video, I'm going to try and demystify the strange language of numbers in science to give you a clearer idea of what they're actually saying and, just as crucially, what they aren't. And I'm going to do it without using a single equation. That's right, for my peeps out there who just want to understand what the hell is going on, this is purely vibe-based statistics. So, smash that like button if you're excited to learn about stats! That may not be the best way to improve my like ratio. Starting off with probably the most common letter you'll see in scientific statistics. Is it A? Ooh. Is it B? No, it's P, because statistics aren't even sensical enough to start at the beginning. A p-value in the simplest terms tells us if something is statistically significant or not. What does it mean to be statistically significant? Excellent question, imaginary audience member. A statistically significant result means we think it's unlikely to be caused by random chance. Let's use an example to make all that a bit more concrete, and because I'm fed up of people using dice in these scenarios, I'm gonna use ducks. Imagine you go to the park one day and see lots and lots of ducks. How confident are you that this is a duck-dominated park? Because it could be that the mallards have taken the pond by force in a battle most foul. But it could also just be that you happen to go on a day when there's a lot of ducks around. How do you know the probability, the likelihood that your result, aka lots of ducks, is due to a real grounded effect, aka the duck wars, rather than just happening because of random chance? How do you know it's the ducks, not the lucks? I'm so proud of myself. Taking this to real life, we might want to know whether the symptoms people are experiencing on a drug versus off a drug are due to the drug itself or just random chance, like someone catching a cold, completely separate from the drug itself. The most common benchmark we use is that a p-value of less than 0.05 is a statistically significant result. And what that means in English is that we have less than a 5% chance of our results being a false positive, i.e. caused by chance rather than a real true effect. The lucks, not the ducks. 0.1 is a 10% chance, 0.5 a 50% chance, and so on. So the higher the p-value is, the more likely it is that your null hypothesis is true, aka there's probably not a real effect to be found. So, if p is less than 0.05, your results are statistically significant and fireworks go off in the hearts and minds of researchers everywhere. Yay! But, why 0.05? I mean, why not 0.04? Or 0.06? The truth is that benchmark we set was chosen because we kinda had to pick something and that's what we went with. I mean, 5% seems about right. You know, it's a nice round number, it feels good, but theoretically 6% is just as good. And so it's important to remember that while p-values are super helpful, they're also not the perfect test of what is real and what isn't. Another problem with p-values is that when you get into the nuts and bolts, they're actually quite counterintuitive, and that means that even a lot of scientists often misunderstand what they mean and what they don't mean. If you're curious, check out some of the sources cited below. So that's p-values handled, the most common stat you'll see, but it often comes with others. The first value you see in a bracket is often the test statistic, and this changes depending on the statistical test that's been done. R values, for example, come from correlations that look at the link between two things, because the test for a correlation is Pearson's R. T values, on the other hand, come from t-tests, which look at whether a group is different from how we'd expect it to be, or whether two groups are different from each other. These test statistics give you a bit more information about the strength and the direction of your effect. Your correlation is statistically significant, cool, but is it a positive one or a negative one? In studies with thousands of people, even teeny tiny correlations can be statistically significant. Because if we look under the hood of how p-values are calculated, equations! Back you foul beasts! That was close. Test statistics ultimately determine if your result is statistically significant or not, and so they often get overlooked in favour of that magic p-value at the end. But though they aren't as easy to interpret sometimes, they can still be worth a look. And that's it. Those are the main letters you'll find in scientific statistics. Other things you'll commonly come across are your averages, the mean, median and mode, along with measures of variance, how spread out your data is from that average. These will often include the standard deviation, SD, or the standard error, SE. Other common measures of variance are confidence intervals and interquartile ranges. Generally, the more spread out your data is, the less confident you are in that final result because, well, your data's all over the place. Smaller confidence intervals and interquartile ranges mean less variance, less spread out data, and higher levels of confidence in that final output. Other things that boost our confidence in the results are high N values, and an N value is your sample size, how many people took part in this study. Bigger sample sizes are good because they increase our statistical power. They make it more likely that we find an effect where there is one, and don't find an effect where there isn't one. You can think of statistical power a little bit like a fishing net. The less people you have in a study, the bigger the mesh, and the more little fish can swim through unnoticed. Eventually, if you have a really small sample size, it might be that you'll even miss medium or big fish, and the only thing you'll catch is weird eels that you probably shouldn't trust. But big studies mean a fine mesh, and that you'll be more likely to catch all those little fish, all those little effects. It could be that a drug only has a small effect, but that small effect makes a big difference in the real world. Finally, you might come across some alternatives to p-values given the potential flaws we discussed before. Effect sizes like Cohen's d are a way to measure the size of an effect across different studies and can be used in addition to or instead of significance. Bayes factors take a turn to a different side of statistics to calculate the evidence either in favour of or against your hypothesis. And there you have it, the statistical alphabet from P to D. So hopefully the next time you dive into a results section, it'll look a little friendlier than before. Even if you do have to think about ducks every time you see a p-value. That's all the time that we have for today, but if you have any questions about the content discussed in this video or suggestions for future videos, please do leave a comment down below. Other than that, it's time for me to head back to the lab and plan what I'm going to do for the next video, but until then, please do let me know of any progress you make in trying to take over the world with science!